The King's Avatar, Chapter 1413 Pursuit, Audio Source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1413, Pursuit. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Huang Shaoshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he discovered the truth. As it turned out, the whole situation had been very straightforward. He tried to stall Happy, but Happy obviously wasn't going to let him. Happy ended up stalling him and prevented him from scouting. This was just a regular action-reaction. Maybe there was an encirclement before, but not now. Happy definitely had their own strategy, but this strategy wasn't tailored against Huang Shaoshan. Rather, they need to hide it from him. Now, Happy has succeeded. Huang Shaoshan did not manage to gain a single shred of information on Happy's movement. His scouting resulted in complete failure. Keep your eyes peeled for Happy's movements. Huang Shaoshan could only remind his teammates like this. Even though Happy's Yishu didn't seem like a big threat now, if they dared to make this kind of arrangement, there must be a reason behind it. "How about you?" the other side asked. "I'm being annoyed by a fly," replied Huang Shaoshan. Bang! In the time it took him to send that message, Lord Grimm's attack arrived yet again. The battle mage's sky strike came flying. The spear traveled in a graceful diagonal arc. If this was in the PvE portions of the game, Yishu would never miss this strike. But Huang Shaoshan wasn't at the same level as a mob's AI. The sword Ice Rain was propped accurately in the path of the Myriad Manifestation umbrella, and the two weapons clashed. The two both carried the air of elite pro players and smoothly transitioned into a backwards leap. The distance between them widened. Again. Collapsing Mountain. Troubling Rain had only taken a small, half-step backwards when he immediately struck again with his sword. However, Yishu's awareness and control didn't lose out to Huang Shaoshan's. Lord Grimm's backward leap also consisted of a small half-step. As the collapsing mountain bore down on him, Lord Grimm rolled to the side. Huang Shaoshan wanted to forcefully change the sword's attack angle, but he saw that Lord Grimm has directly rolled out of range of what he could reach even if he altered his attack direction. Yishu wasn't Mo Fan, after all. The two had an understanding of each other. Yishu's dodge even accounted for any variations that Huang Shaoshan could produce. Mid-roll and at half-crouch, Lord Grimm pointed his Myriad Manifestations umbrella, which was already raised with the tip pointed outwards. The dark, hollow muzzle of the gun flashed with light, accompanied by the sound of a gunshot and a flying bullet. Bang! The bullet had hit a hard object, and sparks flew everywhere. Ice Rain was vibrating and ringing from the impact. The whole stadium was in uproar. He blocked a shot from that distance. What kind of insane reaction and control was that? "Not bad with your luck," Yishu said. "It's called skill," Huang Shaoshan retorted. Truthfully, he knew that previous block was quite fortuitous. Then what about this? Boom boom boom. Anti-tank missiles. 3 artillery shells shot out, one after the other. The explosions dealt damage in an area. You would receive a face full of ashes even if you blocked it. Thus, Huang Shaoshan chose not to block, but instead had Troubling Rain directly use Formless Phantom Blade. Intertwing Sword Light instantly flickered out, followed by 3 flaming flashes. The anti-tank missiles were unexpectedly hacked to pieces by Huang Shaoshan's use of a high-level skill. Even though there would be some splash damage, it would not hinder his advance. The sword light was not immed in the slightest by the explosions and had already crisscrossed towards Lord Grimm. Swish! The Myriad Manifestations umbrella instantly opened up. Yishu had no way to dodge the countless strikes of this high-level skill, so he could only defend. The umbrella's shield form was light and had low resistance to knockback. Under the hurricane-like effects of Formless Phantom Blade, Lord Grim slid backwards, carving out 2 grooves in the sand with his feet. For the final strike of Formless Phantom Blade, all the swordlight gathered into a bundle and struck out. Myriad Manifestation Umbrella's canopy looked like it was about to fold in on itself. This hit that had a powerful knock-up effect was transformed into backwards momentum by the shield's resistance. Lord Grim looked like he was surfing on the sand. His 2 feet continued to send sand flying, as he rapidly slid backwards. Formless Phantom Blade had long ending lag, so unfortunately Huang Shaoshan couldn't follow up and immediately pursue his target. By the time Troubling Rain could perform an action again, Lord Grim was also pretty much done sliding. The umbrella's canopy closed and bullets swept out from Gatling gun. Huang Shaoshan spotted a half-wall next to him and immediately rolled behind it to take cover. The bullets sent rocky fragments flying wildly as they struck the wall. Huang Shaoshan listened carefully to the rhythm of the bullets hitting the wall. If it sped up, that meant Lord Grim was getting closer. But right now, it sounded like the time between each shot hitting the wall was increasing. That meant Yi Shu was probably controlling Lord Grim to retreat. Charge! Troubling Rain immediately jumped out from behind the wall. As expected, he saw Lord Grim retreating while shooting. When he saw Troubling Rain shoot out from his cover, he hastily adjusted his muzzle towards him. But Huang Shaoshan didn't stop controlling his character, who swiftly rushed forth, and left a string of bullets behind him. Triple slash. Blade Master's most commonly used movement skill was used once again. 1, 2, 3 slashes. 3 slashes, 3 changes in direction. Troubling Rain cut a beautiful arc and managed to arrive next to Lord Grim while dodging all his shots. Beautiful. Even Yi Shu praised him. Then, Lord Grim threw out a grenade while Troubling Rain performed the 3rd slash of triple slash. The grenade grazed past the swordlight, while Huang Shaoshan rushed forward. Boom. The explosion completely engulfed the top half of Troubling Rain's body. However, grenades were a low-level Spitfire skill, and the knockback was mediocre. The explosion could only slow Troubling Rain down by a fraction as he moved forward with 3 sword slashes. Even though half of Troubling Rain's body was still covered in dying flames and ashes, he still smartly completed the beautiful arc trajectory of his triple slash. Just looking at damage alone, this grenade couldn't even come close to the damage that Troubling Rain dealt by piling slashes onto the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella's shield from Formless Phantom Blade. But comparing the visual effects of both attacks, Troubling Rain looked much worse. Anyone would say that Huang Shaoshan would be feeling more frustrated in this situation. However, Huang Shaoshan did not have this third-person view, so he was still upbeat. He was content when he saw that he had not received much damage and that his triple slash had not been interrupted. He didn't care that the top half of his body might still be on fire, while Ice Rain slashed out again. Lunge. Troubling Rain slid forward 1 step, and 2 sword lights rapidly shot out. Pop pop. Their 2 swords crossed again, but Huang Shaoshan immediately knew that something was wrong. Lord Grim was far too stiff, and the health drop after taking the hit was also off. It was a shadow clone. Huang Shaoshan realized instantly. He quickly scanned around, and saw that Lord Grim was already a few units away. He was moving, while periodically looking back to check on Troubling Rain. He really wanted to get away. Huang Shaoshan had Troubling Rain follow, while contemplating calculatively. Lord Grim was charging towards the ancient ruins. Was he preparing to rendezvous with his team? Did that mean that whatever setup Happy had prepared was already in place? Found anything odd? Huang Shaoshan quickly asked. Nothing, Yu Wenzu replied. Yi Xiu is coming from my direction. Huang Shaoshan said. Oh. WushOurWorldAudio.com. How'd the fight go? Yu Wenzu continued to reply. It seemed that Sai didn't see any action, otherwise Yu Wenzu would not have time to spare for typing. Unfortunately, I couldn't discover what high-level skills he's attached to his umbrella, Huang Shaoshan said. His fight with Yi Xiu still had this kind of intention. In the group arena, Yi Xiu's Lord Grim had only displayed gun-form non-basic skills such as laser cannon. Blue Rain had no idea what else he was hiding, which was disadvantageous to them in the team competition. Huang Shaoshan wanted to bait some high-level skills out from the umbrella if he could, given the rare opportunity of meeting one-on-one in the team competition. In the end, he didn't know whether Yi Xiu held the skills back on purpose, but what mattered was that this exchange was worthless. Which area are you in now? Huang Shaoshan asked. The region at 89, 157. Yu Wenzu replied. Roger. I'll try and herd Yi Xiu over. You guys get ready. Huang Shaoshan said. Be careful of the rest of Happy. Will do. After completing this conversation, Huang Shaoshan quickly switched to the global chat. Where do you think you're going? He yelled out. However, Huang Shaoshan would not have an advantage if he really wanted to chase like this. Huang Shaoshan talked big, but Yi Xiu had seemingly decided not to fight with him any longer. After some movement skills such as Xing Cut and Colliding Stab had been used, he turned a corner and vanished without a trace. Fuck me. So direct. Huang Shaoshan was a bit confused. He knew that no class could compete with the unspecialized Lord Grim in movement options. But he also said he would herd Yi Xiu towards Yu Wenzu, precisely because he didn't expect Yi Xiu to escape from him so directly. Yi Xiu's dirty playstyle was in his mind, and he was obviously trying to lure him into some kind of trap or ambush. Huang Shaoshan planned to observe carefully while chasing, in an attempt to lure his opponent in instead. Yi Xiu ended up simply ignoring him and running away. Target lost temporarily. Huang Shaoshan could only report the truth to his team. What? That guy ran away. You guys be careful, maybe they're preparing to attack now, Huang Shaoshan said. You too, maybe they'll use you as an opening. Yu Wenzu said. If only. Huang Shaoshan came to scout and did not get the attention he wanted. Yi Xiu and Su Mucheng scared him together, and then only Yi Xiu stayed. He wished that Happy would treat him to a more grand welcome. Huang Shaoshan moved towards the wall that Lord Grim had disappeared behind. Huang Shaoshan quickly approached and then slowed down when he got closer, keeping a safe distance. Then, he darted forward while slashing out. The sword slashed empty air. There was no one behind the wall. Yi Xiu only used the wall as cover, and was now nowhere to be seen. But he couldn't have gotten too far. Huang Shaoshan looked around and observed possible locations that Yi Xiu could have run off to. To avoid being discovered by a pursuer, Lord Grim could only have gone in one direction. Charge forward, leave a safe gap. Change direction, --. He still slashed air, but this time, he got a grand welcome. Chi bullet. The attack came from Fang Rui's Boundless Sea. That slash hit nothing because Boundless Sea had dodged out of the way and immediately counter-attacked. No one was better than this kind of dirty play than Fang Rui. End chapter. The King's Avatar, Chapter 1414 Double-Edged Bait, audio source, WushOurWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1414, Double-Edged Bait. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Roll. Troubling Rain rolled towards the left, dodging the sneaky Chi bullet from Boundless Sea. In the split second that he rolled, the front, back, left, and right were all quickly swept over by Huang Shaoshan as he quickly adjusted his camera angle. He'd already traversed the terrain before, so he had already visualized possible locations for an ambush, so now, Huang Shaoshan only need to confirm where the enemy was, and where he could break through from. Of course, informing his teammates of his circumstances was also of utmost importance. Encounter. In the short time it took to complete one roll, Huang Shaoshan had accomplished many objectives. However, his opponent, Fang Rui, didn't drop the matter so quickly. Spiral Chi Kill. Fang Rui's Chi Master was always in a vulgar-looking half-squat posture, so the angle of his attacks was very different from traditional Chi Masters. Many of his skills were used in an underhanded manner, or from low angles. This time, before Troubling Rain had the chance to get up from his roll, he saw Boundless Sea brandish his fists, surrounded by clouds of twisting chi, and directly began to attack him. Roll again. Huang Shaoshan didn't have any other option, and could only have Troubling Rain roll once more to dodge the attack. At the same moment, he launched his own counterattack. Sword Draw. The sword light flew out in the middle of Troubling Rain's roll. This technique was easy to perform in theory, but if a normal player were to try, the attack would probably end up slashing into the ground 8 times out of 10. The sword light chopped out. In the end, what everyone saw was Boundless Sea suddenly flat on the floor, resulting in the sword light harmlessly flying over his head. Afterwards, he raised his butt and thrust his hands forwards. Surprisingly, resplendent chi suddenly gathered on his palms, and in this way, a flash burst was sent out. It was truly unsightly. Team Blue Rain was very inclusive, and as such, had many bizarre players. Huang Shaoshan was calm in the face of such bizarre sights, especially since he wasn't a particularly tasteful character either. But when it came to this fighting posture of Fang Rui's Chi Master, he still had some difficulty looking straight at it. This kind of a posture appearing from a Chi Master was truly too unfitting. It was no wonder that Fang Rui had been quickly tossed aside in this season's All-Star voting. The transfer of Boundless Sea was already a painful scar, but to top it off, the transformation of the character was so hideous, making it even more painful to look at. Whether it was those who enjoyed Fang Rui's dirty playstyle, or those who had some attachment to the Chi Master Boundless Sea, when they saw this kind of a fighting style, they would tremble uncontrollably, unable to cast such a vote. But still, no matter how unsightly it was, dealing with it was still extremely troublesome. Because this fighting style violated all common sense, gauging Fang Rui's attacks proved to be more difficult. For instance, when he had suddenly went prone on the floor and then suddenly cast a flash burst just now, such a move had never been used before by any Chi Master in the 10 years of Glory's history. How could one guard against such a move? Huang Shaoshan completely relied on his extraordinary reaction speed and inputs, forcing Troubling Rain to roll one more time to dodge the attack. In the few moments that these characters had exchanged blows, after the first time that Huang Shaoshan's Troubling Rain rolled to dodge an attack, he unexpectedly not had another chance to stand up, and was stuck rolling on the floor. This kind of rolling left and right was something that Fang Rui was very familiar with, but other people weren't. Huang Shaoshan was suddenly forced into a passive position, and on top of that, Fang Rui wasn't the only person in the area. What about Yishu, Su Mucheng, Qiao Yivan? Just now, he hadn't seen a single one of them, but that didn't mean that they weren't hiding in one corner or another. What about behind this rock? As he frantically rolled to dodge Boundless Sea's attack, Huang Shaoshan spotted a huge rock that Troubling Rain had brushed past, and his heart tightened. With their omniscient point of view, the spectators had an even better understanding of what was going on. In the stadium, Happy's fans were already brimming with anticipation for the next scene, and their cheers had already been prepared, but Sword's divine judgment. Unexpectedly, in the same instant that troubling rain brushed past the rock, Huang Shaoshan used the Blade Master's awakening skill. Swing! A sound like a sword leaving its sheath rang out, and Sword Chi flew out in a circle around him. Yishu's Lord Grim was indeed hiding behind the rock, but Huang Shaoshan's willingness to burn a powerful awakening skill to protect against a counterattack was beyond most people's expectations. Any attack would be interrupted by the stun from the sword chi of Sword's divine judgment. So Yishu had no choice but to raise the myriad manifestation umbrella, using the shield form to receive the stun effect from the skill. Immediately afterwards, troubling rain rolled again, unexpectedly heading towards Lord Grim, who was behind the rock. With this change of direction, he had actually managed to temporarily shake off Boundless Sea, who had been chasing and attacking him the whole way. Huang Shaoshan finally had troubling rain stand up and straighten himself, but the mountain path that stood in his way was not easy to get past. Falling Flower Palm. In the same instant that the umbrella was closed, Lord Grim sent a falling flower palm towards his opponent. In front was Lord Grim, behind was Boundless Sea. Falling Flower Palm had a long range and significant knockback. If he wanted to dodge, there was no time, and whether he parried or blocked, he couldn't prevent being knocked back. In this moment, almost everyone felt that Huang Shaoshan really had no options left, and in the end, Immortal Guides the Way. The Blade Master skill, Immortal Guides the Way, had a strong knockback effect, and if one were to compare, it was significantly stronger than Falling Flower Palm's effect. But with the distance between the two characters now, and with Falling Flower Palm already being used, could Immortal Guides the Way be fast enough? It could. In that tiny window of opportunity, Troubling Rain unexpectedly succeeded in performing Immortal Guides the Way, something that was inconceivable to many people. Even if Huang Shaoshan's hand speed had exploded, there was still the restriction of the character's attributes and the skill's properties. At this moment, this move shouldn't have been completed on time, right? Sword's divine judgment. At the end of the day, Li Yibo's insight was still much stronger than that of the majority of people. The reason why Immortal Guides the Way was completed in time, was because of the Sword's divine judgment before it. Sword's divine judgment didn't actually rely on that circle of sword chi to deal damage. Instead, it was a transformation skill, enhancing the state of the Blade Master's sword skills. Under normal circumstances, no matter how fast the hand speed, Immortal Guides the Way wouldn't have completed in time, but with the support of the state from Sword's divine judgment, everything had changed. So that's what it is. Pan Lin's response was a little slower, only reacting after Li Yibo had finished his explanation, and in that moment, he felt heartfelt admiration. Admiration for Li Yibo realizing what had happened before him, and even greater admiration for Huang Shaoshan, who had made such a precise judgment in that instant. But no matter how precise the judgment, it was no match for sheer numbers. Immortal Guides the Way had broken Lord Grim's falling flower palm. But immediately afterwards, Huang Shaoshan found that the position Troubling Rain was in unexpectedly had phantom ghost power pulsing, with faint blue snowflakes falling. It was an ice boundary. Triple slash. There wasn't time to consider the situation more, so Huang Shaoshan immediately had Troubling Rain use triple slash. The enhancement from Sword's divine judgment also had an effect on triple slash, making the sword light sharper and faster than normal. Troubling Rain immediately withdrew from that spot, and as expected, an ice boundary took form, creating falling snow within its range. It looked beautiful, but Huang Shaoshan had absolutely no intentions of letting Troubling Rain get anywhere close to it. The Phantom Demon had already made his move, but what about the others? His camera angle spun quickly, and he saw Yi Shu's Lord Grim and Fang Rui's Boundless Sea already charging towards him again, but he couldn't see where Qiao Yifan's 1-inch ash was. What a pain! Huang Shaoshan hesitated a little, wondering whether or not to ask his teammates to rescue him. Those four had painstakingly surveyed the battlefield, picked an area, and then finished deploying over there. According to Huang Shaoshan's original plan, he wanted to make himself the bait, and lure Happy over to that area, engaging in a decisive battle there. But now, as the bait, it seemed as if he might not be able to escape the net that Happy had prepared for him. Not being able to find Qiao Yifan's 1-inch ash meant that Happy could hide away, and keep placing ghost boundaries. And eventually, Troubling Rain would be tied down by one of them, trapping him in the area. At that time, if he were to call for help, it would be even more troublesome. In order to help him escape, his team would definitely suffer great losses. But even if he were to call for help now, what good would it do? If they were to leave the area where they had set up, Blue Rain's earlier deployment would have been wasted. On top of that, Happy also had the appropriate arrangements in their area. Trapping Troubling Rain was likely meant to force Blue Rain to show themselves, engaging in a decisive battle on Happy's terms. The crux of this game was to see who could lead the other team into their own territory. Huang Shaoshan was the bait, but he was the bait for both teams. Happy wanted to trap him, thus forcing Blue Rain to move to them to engage in a decisive battle. WuxRWorldAudio.com. While Blue Rain was counting on Huang Shaoshan to be able to escape, instead leading Happy towards the area in which they had set up. He couldn't call for help. If he did, they'd be walking right into Happy's trap. But even if Huang Shaoshan didn't call for help, someone else had already done it for him. Everyone come and help. Huang Shaoshan is going to get killed. Windward Formation. Wei Chen. Huang Shaoshan saw the name of the person who had sent the message, and could only stare blankly. Was Happy using this tactic again? Swapping out their sixth player when no one was looking, without any way for the opponents to figure out who their last player was. Lord Grim, Boundless Sea, 1-inch ash, Windward Formation. They knew for a fact that Happy had these four characters in the battlefield. Who was the last one? Was it Suma Chung's Dancing Rain, or An Wenyi's Little Cold Hands? Common sense dictated that it couldn't be the cleric that was switched out, especially in the playoffs, where cautiousness was of the utmost importance. But still, Happy couldn't be predicted using common sense. What tactics did they not dare to use? On top of that, Happy's cleric had always been viewed as their weakest link, and they often used him as bait, designing traps to protect their cleric while killing off their opponents. Swapping out their cleric was a tactic that they were well accustomed to using. What protection could be better than throwing their cleric to the safety of the sixth player's seat? What on earth was their lineup? He couldn't tell just by looking, so Huang Shaoshan could only charge forth, using this to determine Happy's true team composition. As for the support zone, it wasn't close by, meaning that they couldn't change their lineup whenever they wanted. If he could determine that Happy didn't have a healer, disrupting their formation and having the whole team engage in a decisive battle, there was certainly an option. What's the situation like? Quote, at this time, Yu Wenzu sent a message in Blue Rain's team chat, probably in response to Wei Chen's cry for help on his behalf. Get ready to attack, Huang Shaoshan said, relaying his coordinates. They may not have a healer in their current lineup. No healer, they really have guts. Yu Wenzu sighed emotionally. As he had anticipated, if Happy wanted to have any real achievements in the playoffs, they couldn't play by the book. If they really had to face against a team head-on in an open field, Yu Wenzu believed that Happy might not be able to win against any team that had made it into the playoffs. Any of these teams' tactics and coordination would be far more mature than that of Team Happy. So Happy had to be extraordinary, and only then could they achieve victory. So, what's your extraordinary move? Yu Wenzu had constantly been thinking about this question. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 14-15 One Step, One Blade, One Kill. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 14-15 One Step, One Blade, One Kill. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. Huang Shaoshan, without a doubt, was the busiest person on the field right now. Yi Shu and Fang Rui's combined offensive wasn't something that anyone in the entire glory scene could deal with without struggle. And Huang Shaoshan also had to guard against possible attacks from other characters. Happy's Ghost Blade 1-inch Ash hadn't made any moves since unleashing that ice boundary. However, this just made things more scary. With Huang Shaoshan on guard, if he struck once more, then Huang Shaoshan would definitely be able to lock onto his position and deal with him. However, if he refused to strike, then he could be anywhere. No matter where Huang Shaoshan had his character go, he had to carefully be on guard for a ghost boundary. There was also Wei Chen's windward formation. Where were they? Huang Shaoshan had no idea. A message sent into the chat wouldn't reveal anything about a character's position. Warlocks were talented at CCing. In the current situation, if Troubling Rain was hit by a Warlock's CC, then he would certainly be wiped out. Thus, these characters that weren't in sight were also the ones that Huang Shaoshan had to watch out for the most. 2 in hot pursuit, 2 hidden away, and they didn't even know if the 5th character was a launcher or a cleric. It seemed like Happy was set on making sure Huang Shaoshan failed in his reconnaissance on them, patiently stalling with him. 20% of Troubling Rain's health had already been chipped away. Against the team of Yi Shu and Feng Rui, no one in the alliance could deal with them without taking any damage. Huang Shaoshan ran even as he fought, but he didn't find any sign of Happy's 3 other members. Instead, he gained a far better understanding of the surrounding terrain. Playing hide-and-seek with me, huh? Huang Shaoshan was certain that Happy's other members were around here, just hidden. These ambushers would only shine when the rest of Blue Rain arrived. Huang Shaoshan purposefully exposed an opening under the Yi Shu and Feng Rui's joint assault, taking a huge risk to try and tempt the other 3 into acting. However, Happy's members managed to resist this temptation. There was no point in continuing like this. If his attention slipped, even just for a moment, he might be wiped out by these 2. To stall them, Huang Shaoshan had broken through the limits of his focus and was already beginning to feel himself on the verge of slipping. No one had infinite focus. Having to deal with a joint assault from 2 all-star players while also keeping an eye out for attacks from hidden assailants. The fact that Troubling Rain was still alive was already pushing past the limits of Huang Shaoshan's ability. Unfortunately, even now, Huang Shaoshan still hadn't managed to figure out anything. He was being overwhelmed, and Happy was too well prepared. It seemed like they wouldn't be able to use Happy's tactics against them anymore. It was quite a shame. However, if he tried to lure them to where Blue Rain was waiting, would they fall for it? Just these 2 were extremely sharp players. Huang Shaoshan kept his eyes locked on the 2 characters in front of him. If this continued, he would be wiped out. He had maintained a defensive stance, struggling even as he made it seem like he was trying to run. Putting on airs like this wouldn't get him any information about how decisively these 2 had locked onto him. However, if he really tried to run now, would he succeed? Huang Shaoshan had been feeling rather exhausted, but now excitement once again burned within him. He enjoyed finding those infinitesimal opportunities in the most dangerous of situations, and then personally expanding on such a possibility. That sort of rush was the best kind of rush. Then, formless phantom blade, troubling Rain's wrist flipped, suddenly activating a powerful skill. Stalling, testing, reconnaissance, but at the same time, Huang Shaoshan was also making preparations. He was creating the illusion of having no way to fight back, hiding the opportunities he had in order to secure an escape route for himself. Yet, he was up against two old opponents who were very familiar with his style. It wouldn't be easy to keep his intentions hidden from both of them at once. Then, could he do it? It was time for him to see. Huang Shaoshan was practically vibrating with his excitement. You could even say that this was exactly what he had been eagerly anticipating, the moment where he would break through the barrier the two had created and successfully escape. Sword light flashed, and this powerful skill was, in fact, activated while Troubling Rain was sprinting forwards. This was like shooting a target while on the move, and it made the mechanics and control of the blade even more complex. Yi Shu and Fang Rui were both experienced veterans. They wouldn't retreat in fear of the power of a high-leveled skill. They would look for openings, waiting for an opportunity to strike. So no matter how challenging the situation, their mechanics wouldn't waver. Wavering meant defeat. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Arc after arc of elegant sword light flashed through the air, crisscrossing and descending upon Lord Grim and Boundless Sea. One step and how many blades? Many were focused on this. Executing formless phantom blade while on the move wasn't a technique unique to Huang Shaoshan, and the way people judged skill with this technique was by how many blades per step. Some people could execute 3 blades per step, some 4 and a few 5, or somewhere between these numbers. In reality, a higher number didn't necessarily mean more skilled, because this wasn't a competition of hand speed, but efficiency. The ideal effect of a mobile formless phantom blade was 1 step, 1 kill. That's right. 1 step, 1 kill, that was the true goal of this technique. The executed number of blades per step was just a way to accomplish that. If a single blade could complete this kill, then that would be the best. The less blades used, the more blades there were to continue the next step, the next kill. 1 step, 1 blade, 1 kill. That was the highest realm one could reach for this technique. Then with one of Troubling Rain's steps, how many blades did he need to accomplish 1 kill? That was what everyone was focused on. 6 blades. Troubling Rain had executed 6 blades on the first step. His hand speed was admirable, but using 6 blades wasn't all that impressive. It wasn't impressive, but it was understandable. He was fighting 1 against 2, and against Yi Shu and Fang Rui as well. In reality, being able to accomplish this 1 kill was already impressive enough. 1 kill naturally didn't mean a one-hit KO. It simply meant to strike and successfully deal damage to an opponent with this step, or force them back. Either would count as a kill. There was no way Yi Shu and Fang Rui would so easily sustain damage in a 2-on-1. Lord Grim and Boundless Sea both chose to retreat, but it was a feigned retreat. These two tricky bastards. Huang Shaoshan saw through it immediately, so when everyone had thought Troubling Rain was executing 6 blades in this 1 step, he added another 2. 1 step, 8 blades. This record was rather appalling. Formless Phantom Blade was usually 10 blades max for each execution of the skill, and now Troubling Rain had already executed 8 blades. How could this even count as the 1 step, 1 blade, 1 kill technique? He was just standing there and spamming DPS. Normal players wouldn't understand the importance of these 2 blades. Yi Shu and Fang Rui were both purposefully exposing openings, trying to bait him. Yet it was with these 2 blades that Huang Shaoshan managed to cover up his openings and fully complete his 1 step, 8 blades. Continue. Troubling Rain advanced again. 1 step out and 2 more blades after the previous 2. One step, two blades, one kill. That step was truly impressive. Though it was two blades, there was no point nitpicking at that. Huang Shaoshan was against two opponents after all. Maybe for others one step, one blade was enough, but he needed two blades. It was far too unfair to ask him to fight off two opponents with one blade. After one step came another. After two blades came another two. 12 blades. Many people were keeping careful count. Currently, for Formless Phantom Blade, Liu Xiaobi held the record at 15 blades. Normal pros could usually reach 13 blades, which meant that after the 12 blades should come the finishing blow. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. However, Huang Shaoshan's situation wouldn't give him the opportunity to execute this finishing blow. The last blade was the strongest, but after this blade, there was a long ending lag, too long for him. Huang Shaoshan wasn't in a good position right now, so he didn't dare do something with such a long ending lag. This final blade of Formless Phantom Blade was something he couldn't afford to execute in his one step, one blade, one kill. So that would mean that the path Troubling Rain had cut out for himself with each blade ended here. However, it didn't seem like the two characters he was facing had retreated enough. So, it wasn't finished yet. One step, two blades, one kill. 14 blades. It was only one blade away from Liu Xiaobi's record of 15, but this was during movement, during one step, one blade, one kill. It needed sharper judgment and more mechanics, yet Huang Shaoshan had completed 14 blades under these circumstances. Even though it was Happy's Stadium and Happy's fans, they couldn't help but admire Huang Shaoshan. Getting half his health smashed by a tree wasn't enough to erase the fact that he was still a top god. Breakthrough. With Formless Phantom Blade's one step, one blade, one kill technique, Huang Shaoshan had managed to break through Yishu and Fang Rui's harassment. Since he didn't execute the finishing blade, there wasn't an ending lag. Troubling Rain's Ice Rain swung, about to execute a triple slash and escape, yet that was when a message popped up in the global chat. You guys are worthless. You got shook off like that? Windward formation, Wei Chen. Was he going to strike? Huang Shaoshan's heart thudded. Wei Chen's message was timed too well. It was clear that he had been attentively watching the situation over here. That meant that Windward Formation's attack was probably already on its way over by now, right? This triple slash might just be slashing right into their trap. Huang Shaoshan made this immediate judgment when the message appeared and this triple slash's path was forcibly turned away from the perfect arc he had planned out, swerving and making a Z-shape. Whoosh. A dark purple light flashed by out of nowhere, curling around the air, the head of the light merging with the tail, and then vanishing. Huang Shaoshan's heart pounded from the close call. That was the Warlock's binding curse. If it wasn't for his quick reaction, Troubling Rain would have been tied up by that. What do you mean? We purposefully gave you a shot at him, do you know? Quote. In the chat, Fang Rui replied to Wei Chen. Look at what wonderful people we are, giving you a chance to show off in front of your disciple. Where's your gratitude? Yishu added. Fine, thank you, you dumbasses. Wei Chen retorted. The audience watched on, dumbstruck. Happy's in-team atmosphere was quite something. End chapter.